Okay, hello. Welcome, welcome.
Hi,
Hi, how you been?
how's it going?
Good.
Pretty alright. It's feeling pretty good.
That's good. That's good. You do anything with your week? I'm a guess no.
Uh, Trying to think. Started watching Jack Ryan. I'm almost done Jack Ryan. Um,
Oh
it's
God.
three
Uh,
seasons to it.
yeah.
Uh, what's his name? The guy from The Office.
John
Jordansky. I was gonna call him Jordansky. Ooh,
Jordansky.
John Krasinski.
Krasinski. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
John Kringlecott.
I almost got that confused for Reacher.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah,
Um.
Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Season one. I mean, are you watching this, or are you gonna watch it?
No, I stopped. I didn't give a shit about it because I remember there was a huge like timeline on YouTube where like every fucking ad was for this goddamn show on
Yeah.
Amazon, or watching an Amazon thing on Amazon was just like check out the new series Jack Ryan or check out season 2 of Jack Ryan. I'm like I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
care. I know Reacher is good, but Jack Ryan I don't care.
Well, I wanted to watch it specifically because of John
Krasinski.
Crinkle Cocker.
Crinkle fries, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
You're like, this is not funny, and then you're like, yeah.
uh, uh, so season one was good. There's this one part that I really can't get past because it like bothers me so much. So there's this, and maybe I need to like rewatch. Maybe I missed a part that I am forgetting. But there's the main story with John or Jack, whatever. Let's call him Jack Ryan. Well,
Mhm.
Jack Ryan and the people that are around him that like specifically do most of the show. And then there's this weird side story that's going on where there's like a over what do you call these guys? They fly the drones and kill people randomly. Not randomly, that's wrong. They kill people
Like
like
drone strikes kind of thing.
yeah, but it's like they strike like one person. Like it's not like a I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like I guess again, maybe I didn't pay like, close enough attention. But anyways, they killed this one guy, uh, and the guy had a family, and they I guess have been watching this guy. So the drone pilot, it feels really bad about it. Things happen to him, and eventually the drone pilot flies to uh, Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever place he goes to,
Mhm.
um, and hold on. Uh, and
And
he goes to Afghanistan or Iraq or one of the places in the Middle East. Uh, lands, goes to the kid's house that the father he killed, and it's like the kid and the grandfather are living there, and he just brings them this like bag of money, and he's like, "I killed your son," and of course like they don't understand English.
Mhm.
They're like on the poor side, just like living like
The poor
kind of
life.
like a poor area, right?
Mhm.
Um, should I? No, right. He drove to Syria. Sorry. I keep just remembering like the piece now. So I believe he drives to Syria. He gets in there and he's just sitting with them and like. Anyways, so like from what I remember, that's the end of that whole thing.
Mhm.
And I was just like, what? Like that's it? We don't get the fucking because I'm like now invested in what the fuck this guy's doing with his life. Where like what he did next? Is he still drone striking? Did the
Mhm.
fucking like I'm sure they would have like paid attention if he went to fucking Syria.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you have a government job, like
S-
maybe they don't, maybe they do, but I would have assumed like if you're drone
s-
striking, they wouldn't allow you to go where you're drone striking.
So what season are you on currently?
That was season one.
No, but like what season are you on currently?
Three. Three is the last season
So
right
they
now. They're
never
making the fourth.
they never brought that guy back up in season 2?
No, and here's the you ready for the fucking second part that I'm gonna note about? The
Okay.
girl he's dating, Jack Ryan is dating, and I like this. She was like I thought she was gonna be part of this whole thing. She's a doctor in the show, and the fucking season 1 ends, man, and season 2 starts, and she's not there. Just no explanation. Again, like maybe I need to watch the last episode again. Like they have like maybe a better explanation or something, but as far as I understand, they just don't show her anymore. And then in the second season,
I'm curious if it's like, I don't know, if like there was like a reason behind the scenes or like that kind of thing where like she just doesn't exist anymore.
no, yeah. I mean, I would assume maybe she just found something better because I can't imagine this show going on much longer. Season 3 is kind of like to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
2 was alright. I think 1 and 2 were like fine. 1 was definitely the best. 2 was alright, and now 3 feels bad.
Yeah. Tom Clancy is currently rolling in his grave, so it's all right. Especially with that Rainbow Six extraction.
Wow, first of all, Extraction's so good. Trying
Uh-huh.
to think what else I did. Oh, I don't, maybe I said this last time. I got Diablo 4 pre-ordered.
Oh yeah. Are you
Fucking
excited for that?
stoked.
That's good. That's good.
It's gonna be good, man.
So on the topic of Amazon shows, like have you watched like any specific Amazon shows like that you've been like really invested into?
Uh,
None. 'Cause-
Amazon shows I'm invested into.
Hmm.
I mean, now Jack Ryan.
Yeah,
That's probably it.
I don't think it was
I don't
really.
know. There's nothing specifically Amazon. No.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like I tried to get invested into The Man in the High Castle. I remember I mentioned that like a couple times on the podcast, but I don't know. There's something about the show that's just like everything in the world is cool, but the characters I just don't care about. So it just makes me like, it like pushes me away from the show, like ever so slightly. But I think the real Amazon show we should be watching together is Kamen Rider Black Suns. I think we should be watching that.
Carmen Rider Black Suns.
Yeah, Kamen Rider Black Suns.
Uh,
Or Kamen Rider Amazons, which is
sure, it's not bad.
it's, actually I heard it's
I-
actually pretty alright.
I actually saw Trigun something came out.
Oh, Trigun Stampede?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Dude, I love Trigun, man. I don't know why. It's not really great, but
It's a
the guy is just so goofy.
you watched the original, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I watched the original as well. Not like during when it was airing, but like I forget how I watched it. I think it was on Amazon back way
Yeah.
when Amazon had a good amount of anime stuff.
Like 4 years ago, I watched it finally for the first time. On
Yeah.
like again, like maybe Netflix had it for like a minute or two.
Yeah. I keep hearing that like the manga of course is really good and then the anime was also really good. But the sequel to the manga was also like something that a lot of people were like waiting for a anime run to happen cuz like the sequel shit like goes in a completely crazy direction. But I remember there was a movie that they did called Badlands and that was like the last thing Trigun like for a good while and then this got announced.
I didn't even know they did Badlands.
Yeah, that was like a little like side story movie that had Vash in it. But like what so I guess like explain to me is this Trigun a reboot?
I think that's what I was reading. Or no, I was watching a YouTube video.
That this is a reboot?
Yeah, I think somebody said that it's like so the word reboot. I don't know if that would be it. But Trigun Stampede.
You googling it?
Yeah, Stampede.
reboot.
Yeah, that is just a good retelling.
Okay, yeah, because like
Uh,
the biggest change was Vash's design. That's what I remember.
Okay, yeah. So is Vash the main guy?
Yes,
Okay, because I just read something that said something about Vash. I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the guy's name. I don't remember anything really about
everything else.
Trigon because it's been a while. But like, I
I
specifically
remember.
remember him just being like a
Goofy.
goofy fucking.
Love and Peace.
Well, like also like being like a super great shooter or something.
He's a
Um,
pacifist shooter. Like I don't think he necessarily kills people, but he tries to disarm them.
yeah,
Yeah. As far as I can
I'm
like
down to watch that. Is
no,
it only Crunchyroll?
yeah, I believe it's a Crunchyroll exclusive. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I believe.
Okay.
No, all I'm waiting for is Nicholas D. Wolfwood.
I don't know what that is.
That's exactly.
Is that an anime?
Yeah, well, he's from the anime and I think also the manga, but he's a guy that carries a giant cross that's a gun. And he's like an ex-priest, I believe.
I gotta rewatch.
Trigun is pretty good.
Trigun, man.
Trigun is pretty good. It's pretty good.
I know it is. I know I enjoyed it. I just don't remember the details.
That good
now.
amount,
I'm
yeah.
thinking about it.
Yeah, no, I get you. But who could forget about Nicholas D. Wolfwood? I mean, you, yeah, but
Me, definitely.
yeah,
If it's not Diablo, I don't remember it.
yeah. If Nicholas D. Wolfwood was in Diablo, then that would be a completely
Then I would
different
be
story.
like, he
He better
did the
show up.
Wolfwood.
Yeah, you're like he better show up. Better be here. But nah, you're like who? That's fair. Yeah, I gotta watch that. I haven't been watching too much anime. I know I was like in the middle of watching like two things. I was watching part 6 of JoJo and then it just stopped. And then I know that is at an end. Like it finished. JoJo part 6 is done. So I gotta watch it, I guess, and then cry. And
Wait, is JoJo gone forever now?
so if you don't know anything about JoJo, part 6 is one of those parts that is very. You're not even gonna watch JoJo, are you?
No.
Okay, so spoilers for JoJo, I guess. So at the end of part 6, everything. So okay, this is really hard to kind of like skim across, but I'll try to give the TLDR. Basically, your main villain has an ability that he is able to reset the world. So at the end of part 6, essentially the world gets resetted. Resettled? Reset. So but he gets defeated, obviously. But essentially, part 6 is the end of that specific JoJo timeline. And then part 7 is where a completely new timeline happens. So that's why if you know a lot of people that like either read JoJo or know a good amount of JoJo, people talk about part 7, excuse me, very fondly because part 7 is an interesting case because I remember reading like I think like trivia and then like an interview with the author that he was intending to do a completely different series, but in the end result, like I think when he got to like the 3rd or 4th chapter, he was like, "Fuck it, I'll just make it a JoJo thing." So he just made it JoJo for the rest of the time being. But yeah, part 6 is oh man, like part 6 is if I read part 6, like I've read the entirety of JoJo, so I know how that ended, and I know either this was going to upset people or like make them feel, I don't know, some kind of strong feeling towards it because it's one of those endings where it's like God, it's like how do you explain it? It's like obviously the world gets reset, but your main character isn't the same main character. If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically the end of that era of JoJo. And then part 7 comes along and introduces a completely new thing. While still being JoJo. Very excited. Very excited for the 3D horses that they're gonna put in JoJo. Yo, part 7 is gonna be the fucking shit. Oh my god. Can I give you the premise of what part 7 is?
Um,
Yeah, okay, I will. Thanks for answering. Uh, so, okay, if you don't know what JoJo is in its entirety, it's basically punch ghosts. So you know what the whole ordeal with Persona is, right? Like you're able to summon like this battle spirit. Basically, JoJo was the beginning of that. Like JoJo was the precursor to fighting ghosts, essentially. So over time, originally it was it's so crazy, the whole fucking behind the scenes shit. So the first JoJo was a Fist of the North Star clone that went in a completely goofy direction, but it was still successful in some ways. And then part 2 came out, which was a follow up to that whole dumb shit with the Fist of the North Star shit, where you're fighting a vampire and vampire shit. Then part 3 happens, and part 3 is where that shit happens, where all these punch ghosts start to come in. But then you get part 4, and part 4 and part 3, to be fair, they're both this is why I love JoJo. It's because of the creativity of the abilities of specific characters and what they have. Your main character has a punch ghost. He just punches really fast. But as the series progresses, a lot of different characters have different abilities that are very, very crazy to think about. And then it just gets to as the further along you get into the series, the more you realize how absurd a lot of these abilities become. And part 7 is the pinnacle of absurd shit, which I'm so happy that, like, if it gets animated, it's going to be the greatest thing of all time. Well, for anyone that watches JoJo. But the premise is for part 7 is it takes place in like the 19th century, like I guess during the big boom of like railroads and stuff like that. So have you ever seen the movie Cannonball Run? Do you know what? No. Okay. So
I feel like I've heard it before. Though.
So Cannonball Run is basically a race against the time to get to one point. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie, but like I know the premise a little bit. It's basically getting from point A to point B. It's like a cross country race essentially, and at the end of the race, you get like a grand prize. So JoJo Part 7 is essentially Cannonball Run, but with horses and with punch ghosts with dumb abilities, and it just gets nuttier from there because the original premise for Part 7 was just to be a race. That was it. But like I said, like a few chapters come along and it becomes the absurdity of the original parts. So that's why I'm so excited for this part. That's why I'm so excited for part 6. But like, I got to get through part 7, but I still got to get through part 6 on my own time. Because yeah, JoJo's one of those things. It's like, it's really, really hard to recommend. I know I've recommended it to Wesley like a lot, and he's watched like up until like part 4. But like I said, it is very, very hard to recommend because it is absurd, and it is one of those animes that like if a power or an ability just happens, you kind of have to accept the fact that it just happens. As ludicrous and dumb as it is, because they're like each villain has a super overpowered ability, and sometimes the main character just pulls something out of their ass and wins. That's how it usually goes. But overall, part 4 and part 7 are my favorite parts, and part 2, but part 4 and part 7 are my favorite parts of JoJo. And what I'm super excited for this year as well is that part 9 is starting this year. And I didn't like part 8. I think I mentioned it here as well, is that part 8 finished in a really not great way, because they kind of brought in the antagonist like literally towards the end of the fucking series. So it's just like,
did you watch part 8?
I read part 8.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because part 8 is still in serialization. So like
Gotcha.
I read it, and that was the whole thing. There was also another interview with the author where somebody asked him, was like, I think they were like, he was midway in the story, and somebody during the interview was like, "Hey, when are you getting to the antagonist?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot to add an antagonist." So then I'm reading this thing, and I'm like, "Yeah, you start to see that like he just like, oh, got to think of a villain. Okay, this is your ability," and it's like, okay, this is stupid. But like I said, it didn't really leave a great mark on my radar, I guess. But yeah, you should watch JoJo. No, you don't have to watch JoJo. Yeah, so JoJo and I know I was watching that Gundam anime, the one that I told you about, The Witch from Mercury. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's on Crunchyroll as well, but I didn't get that far. I know. Uh-huh.
Oh no.
Yeah, same. Sorry, I
I'm
know.
sorry, man. I'm stretching over here.
No, it's fine because like I just wanted my JoJo rants, and I know we were talking about your week. I just
Oh
made it
no,
about
no.
I made it about JoJo.
JoJo is it's pretty okay. I mean, like I've watched part 3, I think.
Yeah,
It's the one that you always tell me like people are like willing to get into because it has like a lot of superness to it.
yeah.
Uh,
Part 1 and part 2, I would say, is a little hard to get into because of the crazy right turn that part 3 makes. But part 3 feels more cohesive if you have the knowledge of what happened in part 2 and part 1, because the biggest thing in part 3 is the thing that happened in part 1 specifically. So it's like but yeah, to be fair, part 3 is the more easily accessible one because from then on that's what JoJo becomes. Did you watch the episode where they fight an orangutan?
uh, I don't think I did.
Oh damn
Uh,
it.
trying to think what I remember.
It's the best shit.
I remember them like picking up a guy out of the ocean in a casket,
Oh, that's literally
which
part
was Dio, I believe.
yeah, that's literally like episode 1.
Yeah. Well, I remember
Okay.
that. I remember a bird being one of the guys.
Yeah, Magician's Red.
That was his what's it called? Shadow person or whatever.
Stand.
His stand, yeah,
His
yeah.
stand.
And then another guy had a cool ass like fire one, and he was like fucking him up with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Like, don't get me wrong, like
Yeah.
the concept's cool, but you already know, like, I can't get behind that shit fucking art sometimes. And I know people love it for what it is, but like the like really Italian one was super weird.
The really Italian. Oh,
They made them like in Italia,
in the Italia. What are you,
in like
Italian?
Italy or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, I don't know. They like had them wearing Gucci, I think.
Yes, that's part 5.
It looks so bad.
It's actually fucking great. It's
And
really
their fucking
good.
haircuts are terrible. They just look like the ugliest people ever.
I know. That's what makes it great.
It pisses me off, dude.
I know. That's also I think the biggest like turn off for a lot of people is the art style, because that's also another situation with JoJo was that like part of the reason why I love it is because that is that whole series is an encapsulation of somebody's art style completely changing. If you look at his art from part 1 when he was drawing it to now, it looks like it's drawn by a completely different person. Like it just doesn't make sense. But that's what I'm saying, is that like that's the problem with going into JoJo a little bit, is that like if you're watching, like for example, you're watching part 3 right now. If you look at part 4 looks completely different. And then if you look obviously at part 5 is completely different. So yeah, that's also the other thing, because those parts themselves were also an encapsulation of what time he was not writing in, but like what time he was writing about. So I think like part 5 was supposed to be like early 2000s Italy. So it was just like weird, like early 2000s culture with like actual Gucci stuff. Like that's what his inspirations were. That's why they look like weird Gucci models. You love it. Versace. Versace.
Yeah. Versace.
You know, he actually the author actually like did a promotion for I think Gucci.
I don't know.
Yeah, he did a promotion for Gucci because like he a lot of the references he uses is from like fashion model magazines and shit like that. That's why
Oh, nice.
yeah, that's why they do poses and shit like that. Jojo, you should watch the rest of JoJo.
No.
Fair.
So I've been I've been bounty grinding for Destiny 2 for the new DLC coming out.
Oh yeah.
Bounty grinding just means you're getting ready to quick level up when the next season starts. So that's what I've been doing. Trying to think. I don't know. My PC works.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty cool.
How's that endeavor? Or
Took it apart, cleaned it all out.
now
Works. It had like a weird issue the first time. So like it started up and worked fine the first time. And then I went to start it up a second time and the graphics card, I think, wasn't letting it show visual. And I was like, what the hell? So then I restarted it and it worked again. But that's the thing I was having a problem with before was I was getting no visual, which is the graphics card was filled with dust, and I assume that's why.
Yeah.
So that's why I took everything apart and cleaned everything, because I was like, well, if one thing breaks, everything's gonna break at some point. So and then the same thing with my PS5. I
took it apart.
took that thing apart. I haven't had a problem again with that since I took it apart. So
Okay.
yeah, highly recommend anybody that
Get
has
it-
electronics to fucking
Clean
not
it.
take your shit apart, but like fucking
Clean it.
if you buy something, clean that shit like monthly.
Yeah, like once every month. Yeah.
And then you won't have to like worry about that.
Shit dying on you.
But if you have anything on the ground, like you're gonna have to open it up and like my computer's on the ground.
Yeah.
And like that's gonna no matter what build dust into the fucking heatsink and all that.
Yeah, I think that's I forget what's it. I think there is like an actual test. It's like anything on the ground gathers more dust than things that are like on shelves.
Anything on the ground, anything next to directly to a wall, you don't want that because it causes it to have higher heat because it doesn't really push it out well.
Yeah. I get you.
A lot of stuff.
Did you
also if you smoke?
Oh yeah,
that ruins your shit quicker.
Yeah, that's true. Did you play anything on your computer besides Destiny?
No, I literally haven't touched my computer. I don't know. I haven't really wanted to play anything. Like, I don't know. Just haven't had the
urge
to. I do, however. I have. What's it called? I got it last time we talked.
Elden Ring?
No, I do have that though. Shit, the Danganronpa 1 through 3.
That's right.
And then you sent me the X ones, I think it's called.
The Nonary games.
Nonary games.
Yes.
Have
fun with those.
Yeah, I'm stoked to get through everything, literally. I don't know why I said literally, but yeah. It's like an exaggeration on like what I'm already saying. I'm very excited to play through the games. Nonary, is it very similar to
Danganronpa?
Danganronpa?
So it is a puzzle game, but it is also a visual novel, but it relies mostly on what's it called? On escape room.
Okay. That's
yeah.
But it has like story to it?
It has a cohesive story. I don't know if cohesive is the right word, but it has a story. Because the story gets into a very, very crazy direction. But it is still like That the first game 999 is very good, but my favorite one out of all three is the second one, which is also part of that collection that I got you. Virtue's Last Reward, because the ending.
Oh, I'm on my computer. I'm gonna go look at the things right now.
Yeah, that's right.
He's like, go install them.
What am I thinking? Yeah, they're mostly like room escape shit with puzzles. And the ending, I don't know if that's really a big spoiler, but like the ending really requires you to know Sudoku. So just keep that in mind. If not, just look up a guide. Are you reading the information?
No, I'm sorry. I have to put
Oh, Sudoku.
one. I never accepted the gift, so thank you again.
Yeah, that's right.
And two, I have to put in I got to like the safe thing where you got to put in a like combination every time you log in.
Oh, the
Two-factor authentication.
yes, so that thing.
Because you know,
I do know.
internet.
But yeah, they both are visual novels, but I would say they're much more different experiences because Danganronpa is a Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney like, while 999 is Room Escape.
Oh, I installed Danganronpa. Okay.
Yeah, Danganronpa. Enjoy Danganronpa. Let me know what you think of Danganronpa.
So, did I watch you play all the games, or did I watch you only play one?
I think
Can't remember.
you watched me play part 3.
Okay. Yeah, so I know like what I'm expecting from it.
Mhm.
So I'm just excited to like
Go
mess
from the
around
beginning.
and see the rest of the story, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, no, the first two are fun. They're very fun games. They're stupid and anime as fuck, but they're fun. Oh, excuse me.
Definitely.
Okay. That's cool. Let me know when you start. Anything else?
No. That's
No.
it.
That's it? Really? Bro?
Wow. This guy
Step
did
bro?
nothing.
I also did nothing in my week. I guess I'll talk about my week then. I did nothing. Oh, the one thing I did is that I gave myself a shave. I actually cut my hair. So I now have short hair. Yeah.
It doesn't look shorter, does it?
No more ponytail.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Cut my hair. Yeah, I realized that it's been like 8 years since I've been growing out my hair.
Wait, does your hair like lay down when it's long?
No, my hair, I have naturally curly hair, so
Does it like it fro, right?
it froze, yeah.
Okay.
Because of how long I had it, like the ends were just like curly. So if I didn't have it at least like wet or have some product in it, it would just like go out. Even when I was a kid, I had curly hair. Like I had a fro. But I think once I got into like elementary school was when my mom was like, "All right, guess we're cutting all your hair." So I have had my hair short from like elementary to like the end of high school, and that's my realization is that at the end of high school was when I started to grow out my hair. And yeah, now I cut it, and I'm like, yeah, I can always grow it back. So there's that.
Yeah, dude. So like, I think I've only seen you here. Well, okay. I know I've only seen you on here on Discord, but like I've only seen you with the headset on and everything, so I always assumed like I never saw your hair hang down. I always thought it was just like a puffy fro.
Oh, I've had it in a ponytail for like a good while, and that was the only way I kept it. Like, especially if it was like my hair was dry, I've only kept it in like a ponytail. But, yeah, I was just like, fuck it. I guess I'm gonna cut my hair because originally, I literally did this in my bathroom. I was like, let me just like shave like the sides of my head because like I just started to get annoyed with the amount of hair I was having, and then I got to a point where like I was cutting a little too much off, and I'm like, fuck it. It just like started like cutting like the rest of it. So like it might be a little uneven because of course I did it myself. But yeah, like I said, you know, it could grow back. It could just grow back. Good thing I have at least decent genes when it comes to hair. Um, yeah, it's wild though. It's been like 8 years. Uh, and that was also the other thing is that like my cousins and like a lot of my family members were like, "When are you gonna cut your hair?" And I always thought to myself, I'm like, uh, I don't know. Like I don't know when I'm gonna cut it. And I'm like, I mean, it's my hair. And then I really thought about it like I think the start of this year, obviously a couple weeks ago, and I was like, man, it's been really long since I've had my hair long. And the thing I usually do because my hair kept growing. So the thing is that I would like just cut off the ends and like have a shorter ponytail. But then it just got to a point where I was just like, you know, I let my hair down and then I wake up in the morning and then I just have this frizzy hair. And then when it starts raining or when it's humid out, it just becomes even more frizzier. So I'm just like, oh well. So yeah, if you have the opportunity to grow out your hair, grow out your hair, and then see how that works out.
I mean, I've grown mine out many times. It just gets hot.
That's just another thing. Yeah, it does get hot. It does.
It's like,
but to be fair, because my hair is so puffy, I would just wear hoodies during the cold, and like my hair would insulate the rest of my face. So.
That's fair.
But yeah, cut my hair. But besides cutting my hair, my birthday is tomorrow, so I'm turning 26.
Chunch Day.
Chunch Day. So I'm gonna be streaming, I guess, whatever the fuck, on my birthday. But I was also mentioning is that like, I guess a little personal thing is, I gotta start looking for a new job because my current job is like becoming really, really slow, with work. So, and on top of that, I'm getting like essentially kicked. Thanks government, thanks U.S. government. I'm getting kicked off of my mom's insurance. So there's that. And it's crazy to think that the time has come that technically I am an adult. So, yeah, gotta look for a job with insurance or move to Canada. I could do that. Get that universal health care.
Yeah, then you gotta wait, I think 2 years or something like that.
Yeah.
To get into the system.
Yeah, but
and that's when you get hit with the broken leg syndrome.
Yeah, but no, that's also the other thing is that like, I wouldn't say I've had that realization of like, oh man, I gotta look for a new job now. It's more in the line that like I've kind of had this idea for years of just like, there's going to be a point where I'm going to have to actually like, God forbid and knock on wood that like something does happen that I, at least I'm covered for it because, I look at my mom's boyfriend because he's been out of work for like a year now, essentially, and he got hurt pretty bad, but like because he's on an insurance plan because of the what his job provides, it's like that's why he's able to stay out of work but still be employed. So there's and union, but also that's besides the point. But like I'm working a job currently that like I'm moving heavy shit around and I'm not covered, and I can't keep doing that for the rest of the time being. So yeah, got to start looking for something else. But enough of those personal blights. I guess just kind of like going away from the real stuff, I've entered the video game stuff. So there's a couple things that I've played. I think the biggest one of mention is Remnant from the Ashes.
Yes.
So I beat it. I beat the whole game. I did it.
Yep. I think I still need to go through the DLC parts apparently.
So What do you know? What do you want to know about the DLCs?
Nothing. I just need
Okay.
think a second pair of hands to go through it.
Yeah, I bet you do. Uh, uh, so this is the weird thing. What do you actually know about the DLCs? Not a thing, I'm assuming.
I don't remember shit about the game, to be real. It's been a long time.
Okay, so Subject 2349, I think it's called. I forget. Not Swamp of Courses. The
Mm,
other one.
Subject one.
The Subject one. Okay, we're just gonna call that one Subject. That one is a mainline story thing. So that actually is a continuation of how the base game ends. Swamp of Courses is a weird one because it's technically DLC, but it's not a story thing. It's not anything story related. So you know how the game has like these two game modes, adventure mode and survival mode?
Yeah.
So I didn't know about this, that those were added way later after the game was released. I think during the DLC for Courses. So what Courses adds is a new boss. But in order to get that new boss, you know how you have to do like re-rolls in order to get like different bosses and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially for Courses, if you're on a good roll, you're able to fight the boss that was included for that DLC. Do you want me to tell you who the boss is?
No.
Okay. So you fight the new boss, and that's basically the new content. The rest of the other like new stuff is just the survival stuff for Courses, and that's basically it.
Okay.
So it really depended on you whether or not you want to do the Courses stuff, because it does. Oh, sorry, it's not one new boss. It's like a couple new bosses, but like maybe like 2 or 3. But that's basically it. But the subject one is like the one that sends you to a completely different location, which is pretty cool. I think I don't want to give too many spoilers, but like the idea behind it is pretty interesting. I'm gonna give my review on Remnant from the Ashes. Are you ready for this? Are you ready? All right.
Bad.
It's a bad game. No, I'm kidding. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's a very interesting. It has a lot of interesting ideas, but it tries to do too much. Because of the amount of like world stuff that goes on in it. Like lore wise, it's cool, but it does way too many things. Because it does a whole thing of post-apocalypse with different worlds, but also demons, but also an old god that's also in there, while also introducing science experiments. It tries to do a lot of things all together. But overall, playing the actual game is still kind of fun. But there were moments in the game where I felt like were kind of bullshit, and I felt like those experiences that I had would have been alleviated if I had a partner or a second player with me. Because I got to the fight that you talked about, the one that you were like, oh yeah, the one boss fight that I remember that was pretty cool was the bridge fight. That was for the butterfly. I forget what's his name, Ixial or something like that.
Yeah.
That was the swamp beast guardian. So I fucking hated that boss. I did not like it. But I think the reason why I didn't like it was because of the fact that it would have been easier if I had a second person with me. Because during that boss fight, once you get to that boss is like, what is it, like half health? That's when another one starts to pop like on the other side of the bridge. So that's where I was like, oh, fuck this boss, because you had to essentially keep both bosses in your periphery, because one starts doing bullshit where it starts swiping at you, and the other one does bullshit where it's throwing shit at you, or one is like summoning shit while the other one is like shooting out fucking laser beams and shit.
That's why I couldn't believe you fucking finished it yourself.
I did it.
I just remember that being really fucking hard. And I was like,
did you do that with Wesley?
yes.
Oh, okay.
I did as far as I thought we beat the game, but
Apparently not.
I looked at my trophies and I'm missing trophies for both DLCs. And I mean, when I say trophies, I mean I didn't get one trophy, which means beat the boss.
Yeah.
So I never beat the boss. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I might be done the main game, but I definitely didn't do anything in DLC.
So let me ask you, do you remember what the end boss is?
Nah, man. The last boss I remember is that one on the bridge.
Really? That's the last thing?
But
look at your trophies.
I remember
look at your trophies.
a guy in a room in like a temple, like a church almost, and he was like a boss, I think.
Was it a
Pulling
monkey?
up my trophies on my phone. Hold on.
Yeah, just pull up your trophies on your phone. Either way, back to my whole review of Remnant from the Ashes. It's not a bad game. It does obviously a lot of Souls things, but the only difference is the some of the gameplay mechanics and obviously the shooting. The shooting is the big one. So far in the entire game, I rocked the sniper rifle.
Really?
Because it did a lot of damage, but then after a while I got to a boss that was like way too fast than my reload speed. So I ended up going with the hunter rifle, I think it's called.
Uh-huh.
And that shit made so many fights easier. I think it was literally the final boss where I ended up switching to a different weapon and fucking upgrading the shit out of it. Because of the fact that like the reload speed for the rifle was a lot slower, even though it was for one bullet. While the fucking hunter rifle, I was like reloading that shit in like less than like 5 seconds. And then it's a repeater. So it's like you keep shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. It's like 10 bullets. And yeah, it's just like it kept me from dying harder in that final boss. And that's also the other thing, is that the final boss it's neat, but I wouldn't say it's anything like to write home about. I don't know. Like, this is. Are you looking at your trophies? Did you see the?
Yeah, I beat Singe.
That's the dragon boss from Earth.
Bro, I don't fucking. I beat Ent, E-N-T.
That's also another boss. That's the other boss from Earth. If you didn't get Singe,
I
you
need
would
to
get
restart this game, bro. I don't remember any of this.
So
I beat Totem Father.
Okay, so you did get to Yeisha, which is the jungle area. That was the monkey guy with the lightning rod.
Again, sure.
I
defeated the Undying King.
Oh, that one I didn't do. I still gotta. I don't know if I still gotta do that, but.
I defeated Calviger. Claviger.
Calviger.
Nope, it would be Claviger. Cleavage.
Oh.
I don't know.
Cleave Man?
I defeated XY. That's the butterfly guy you were talking about.
Yeah.
And then I defeated Dreamer.
Defeated Dreamer.
Well, it says defeat the Dreamer. Right?
Oh yeah, Claviger. Yeah. I think that was a boss that you and Wesley fought.
Okay.
Dreamer, yeah, you beat the final boss. That's the final boss.
Okay.
So I guess I can talk about the final boss. Yeah, it's essentially like the first phase is the weird dude with the helmet, and then he turns into like a weird moth in his second phase. Yeah. I don't know, like I said, there's a lot of interesting like gameplay mechanics that are pretty cool to this, like the re-rolling stuff to change the world that you go into differently. And I'm glad at the fact that they added the adventure mode, so you can just go back into the world then instead of playing the entire story all over again in order to get the different worlds. So re-rolling is pretty cool. The only thing I fucked up when I was doing the courses like shit when I was trying to get to the additional bosses is that I decided to make the game hard. And that was a huge mistake because when I got to that boss that is one of the big ones for that DLC, I couldn't do it. It's incredibly difficult because the boss either one-shotted me or two-shotted me. So I went back, re-rolled, didn't get it, I had to re-roll again, did it on normal, and then that boss became somewhat easier, but still kind of bullshit. Yeah, it's I would say it's one of those games that like you really have to have a second person with you or three people with you, or not even three people, but like you got to be a group of three essentially. And those bosses I think feel a little bit better because obviously one person can be taking aggro while the other two can do more damage, or you know have and a lot of like the trinkets or the rings and the amulets that you get are they all, most of them have to do with a lot of co-op stuff. So it's like a lot of like trinkets and shit I wasn't really using. So there's that. Um but I'm trying to think. Overall, neat ideas, some neat lore stuff, but like I said, it gets a little too crazy with the amount of stuff that's trying to push. But still, I enjoyed some of the lore stuff. For example, like that essentially the dreamers are these people that were being used as like a science experiment in order to make a connection to other worlds by them viewing the eyes of their guard of the other world's guardians, and that the guardians were essentially the keepers that were essentially stopping the root from coming into their worlds. And I know you talked about like fucking what is it called? Kronos from the Ashes, or Before the Ashes? Is that what it's called?
It's just called Kronos.
It's called Kronos. I thought it was Kronos Before the Ashes.
Might have been, but when I looked up the trophies, it just said Kronos on it.
So I looked up a video. I looked up a lore video, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's how this fucking evil shit is happening in this game. Is that they're basically the root tricked the main character of the first game and is spreading through that way. But like I said, they try to do a lot of like interesting stuff with a lot of the worlds. I think Yeisha was like one of the most interesting ones, where the whole backstory behind the jungle world is these two factions are fighting. The like the poor creatures are trying to fight against the nobility, and these nobles are basically living off this this tree of life. And the problem is that the person that's like the head of the nobility is running out of resources, or basically I think the tree is just dead at this point. So what they've been doing is like reserving the amount of fruits that can be given to each nobility. And it's like this whole interesting thing of like, oh, this is what's going on in the background of this world. This is why these people are fighting with these people. And it's like, oh, that's pretty neat. But then it just never goes anywhere from there. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's kind of unfortunate. But I think also there's another thing that the lore also talks about stuff from Kronos as well, where they talk about the dragon. Because that's the boss in Kronos, right? The dragon? The beast?
Kronos.
Okay, the beast? The beast dragon?
It's very glitchy, the game, so it's hard to
Figure out.
It's hard to win fights when there's a big guy and little guys, because like sometimes they get caught on something, or you're not able to hit them because they're like in a block.
That's what I've been seeing, is that like that game is pretty rough with it transferring from VR. But yeah, there's like a lot of interesting things. There's a lot of neat ideas, I can say. But overall, on like a scaling from like 1 to 10, I give it like a 6. I'm still pretty interested in the second game. But yeah, like I enjoyed my time. You know, I don't feel like it was like wasted completely. Uh, and I did do almost everything. I tried a little bit of the survival mode, and that shit is just like another level of like um but still I think if I probably like if you were to ask me like, hey, can you help me with the DLC, I'll be like, yeah, I'll help you, because I got a full decked out armor set that like it's pretty
Yeah,
good.
so that's another thing is I was reading the trophy list or the trophy list again, and like it was like obtain all the weapons, obtain all the armor, and I'm like, I don't have all the weapons, I don't have all the armor. Like I remember doing so much stuff, and I was
Yeah.
like, I don't have like where because I don't remember there being this like huge space to go everywhere, but I must be missing like somewhere I haven't gone or something.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's
Yeah,
why I was like talking to you because like I want to see like what the hell I'm missing, man. I
I
don't know where
think
to go.
I mean there's a lot of stuff that I'm missing as well, but like I think I'm happy with the shit that I got, to be honest. Because there's also like boss weapons that you get, and I think that's also part of the trophy list. And also mods. If you get like, what is it, like 10 mods or like 15 mods, something like that. Uh, yeah, some shit like that.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how to use the mods when I got on.
So that's God. Now I'm thinking about the DLC, the subject one. There's a part in the game where it gets kind of bullshit, and it started to like make me dislike the game a little bit. But it went on for too long. But that's, I guess when you get there, you'll find out what I mean.
Yeah,
Um. Yeah. Overall, Remnant from the Ashes. It's okay. It's all right. It's not
I
like
think the next one's gonna be good.
I hope.
Like graphically.
I hope they work out some of the kinks and some of the jank in Remnant, because that's also
Yeah,
another thing that's with this game, is that it's pretty janky. Um
it's true.
and yeah, like I said, it's those fucking boss fights, man. Like doing it solo, that fucking bridge one sucked. Like it sucked so much. It sucked so much. Like it was a cool boss because it's like this weird moth wizard, but man, it fucking sucked. But I beat it. I don't know how the fuck I beat it.
Um, the way the bosses were in this, feeling like you needed more than one person, honestly, made me feel like how Returnal is. Obviously not the same thing, but the same like these bosses are giant and hard and
Yeah.
it feels like you need another person there. But the truth is like you can definitely solo it. There's definitely a way
You
to do it.
yeah,
It's a
like
lot of work though.
that's the whole thing about this game, and I guess like a game like Returnal, is that like it is doable, but it's so fucking difficult at times.
Mm,
And yeah, there were moments where like I had to just take a break. But that's also the other issue is the re-rolling stuff. Because like I was mentioning, is that like when I went back to courses, I didn't get the role that I wanted. So, but the problem is that like I have to trek all around the entire area to figure out whether or not I got the right role. And if I
yeah.
didn't get the right role, I have to re-roll, and then I have to do the whole process all over again. That's the minor annoyance I have with that. It's just you gotta look. That's all it is. You gotta look around. Um, but as for the subject DLC, I think I got all the trophies for the subject DLC because it's not anything too crazy. But the courses one, I didn't get everything, and neither for the base game, because it's mostly stuff for like collect X amount of weapons or X amount of armor sets or X amount of like glowing armor sets as well. Because like I think you get like glow orbs if you play the game on like the harder difficulties. But like I was saying, is that like it's fucking hard is fucking difficult as shit playing it by yourself. So yeah, Remnant from the Ashes. That's Chonch's review. When you want to play Remnant from the Ashes?
Whenever you can help me, man.
All right, let me know. So what else did I play? So on stream I actually beat Evil West. I'm very mixed on this game, Evil West. Almost as mixed as Bendy. Uh So Evil West is fun at times. I guess to give like a shortened down version of like the review that I made at the end of the stream. Evil West has a lot of interesting ideas, but it tries to do too much with its mechanics. And it tries to give you, and it gives you way too many things to use, but at the same time, it it doesn't let you utilize all of it in a very cohesive way. So for example, in Evil West, you get so many fucking weapons. It got to the extent of me forgetting that I had a fucking revolver. The entire time as I was playing the game, I'm like throwing these fucking weapons out. I'm like, all right, I got my flamethrower, I got my rifle, I got my punch, I got my like cross that does stun damage, and then I'm running around the fucking arena and I'm like, oh man, everything that I just used is on a cooldown timer. So that's what I meant of like it doesn't really let you utilize all of it in a cohesive way. Is that most of the good stuff you have to wait for a timer. Um, but as I'm running around, there was a moment where I'm like, do I have another weapon? And then I'm like, oh yeah, I have my revolver. And I'm like, yeah, I could just use my revolver at any time. But that was the problem with that game, was that like it just gave you so much, and it's just like, like if you reduce the amount of stuff that it had, then that would be great. And not having a lot of the stuff be on cooldown would have been really fun as well, because it would have made the fights even more crazier and more fast paced, because that's also the issue that I was having with the game as well, was that like, well, when I was in the middle of combat, I would have to just wait for the cooldown to be over for a lot of the weapons I need to use, because the game just amps up in the amount of enemies that it gives you, but not in the sense of the quantity of enemies. It's the enemies that it just like throws at you. For example, there are a lot of enemies that you fight that are bosses, and after you beat those bosses and like a later level, those bosses become regular enemies. So
Okay.
so the issue becomes that, so the technically the first boss you fight are these things called highborn vampires. And they're these big fucking vampires that look like humanoid bats. They're huge and big. Um and later on they become regular enemies, but the problem is that they still kind of feel like bosses, but like, because like their health, it takes a long ass time to get their health down. And that was the issue, was that like I had to fight like 3 of them at once while having other enemies like fucking throw shit at me, or like coming at me, or like attacking me from the back. And it just got to the point where like there are moments where I'm just like, oh god, like I'm just gonna have to run around. Like that's all I'm gonna have to do until I get like the ability of whatever the fuck that can make this fight go a little bit easier. So Evil West is a weird one. But my main takeaway from this game is the story's just not that interesting. It's not it's not really anything that's good, to be honest. Like it's kind of boring. I like the world. I like the setting of it being in a supernatural Wild West. You know, I like the idea of like vampires and monsters being in the Wild West, but the story itself is pretty dumb, and the characters are just all uninteresting. Like even your main character is uninteresting. And I think I mentioned before, was that like there was one character that was like somewhat interesting, but the problem is that like the game gives you all these characters' backgrounds, and their backgrounds are more interesting to what's going on in the current story. So like there was a character by the name of Virgil. His storyline was that he was an orphan that was taken in by your father's institute. The institute is the basically the super secret agent government. It's like the Men in Black, but for vampires in the Wild West. That's what it is. Virgil was taken in by the institute because he was involved in an incident when he was a baby that included a blood cult, and then they had to do testing on him to see whether or not he had some affinity to like anything supernatural. So there was like really interesting like background stuff for that character, and I'm like, oh, that seems pretty neat. But then the rest of the game is just like gotta punch vampire, and that's basically it. So I was like, yeah, Evil West is a weird one because it's like it has neat ideas, but the problem is just it tries to do too much with its combat. Um, there's a lot of instances where the game is really jank as well. Um, and there's also an issue on PC where there's like I don't know. I've been looking on forums and shit to see whether or not like this is a performance thing that's like for my hardware, but apparently it's not. It's from the Unreal Engine. Was that whenever it tries to load in new assets, there's a huge performance like dip that happens every single time when it tries to like insert new assets. So if you look at the stream that I was doing, you can see that like whenever like the first time I used the shotgun and used it like in front of an enemy that's new, the game would just like fucking like take a huge dip because it's trying to render the pieces of the new enemy in like chunks and pieces.
That stuff's like terrible.
It's not great. It's not great. And that would really hinder on like a lot. There's a huge example of this when I was fighting a group of enemies, and literally at the start of the fight, like a new enemy was introduced, and the fucking like frame rate, not the frame rate, but like the performance hitches start happening, and like I'm in the middle of a fight, and like I can't fucking read the enemy because these hitches are happening. So it's bad. It's not good when that happens. And like I was saying, is that like it's a huge problem on PC. On consoles, it's not really a problem. The only thing that is a difference between the PC and the consoles is I think 30 frames 4K in performance mode is 1080p, but the graphics settings are like kind of toned down a lot. So the game kind of looks a little meh. But yeah, overall, I would say if you're interested in Evil West, I would say maybe get the console version, but also at a cheaper price because yeah, it's like it's not a bad game, but it's not really anything to like say GOTY. Like it's not really game of the year material. Yeah, Evil West. So besides those two games that are pretty all right. You know, now that I think about it, like I gave Remnant like a 6, and I know I gave Evil West like a 6.5. But now that I think about it, I think Remnant is a bit higher than Evil West, to be honest. Yeah, I'll give Remnant a bit of a higher grading.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10, best game of the century.
Even better than Data War.
Even better. Oh my god, are you kidding me? Remnant from the Ashes is like a masterpiece. Like fucking God of War Ragnarok is like a it's like a Adam Sandler movie. Anyways, so besides that, the one thing that I've been diving into is Halo. I got back into Halo.
Ooh.
This is a weird one. This is weird. I gotta take a swig of my water. Hold on. Talking so much. Halo's a weird one. So I wasn't a huge fan of Halo 1. I played Halo 1 on the Master Chief Collection. So I'm currently playing Halo on the Master Chief Collection on PC. And what I didn't know was that apparently the console version for Halo 1 and 2 on the Master Chief Collection has performance issues on Xbox One. On PC, I haven't tried Master Chief 1. I haven't tried Halo 1 on PC, but I did go through 2. So I beat 2, and today I beat Halo 3. So I'm fully Haloed out. Just kidding. I'm playing another Halo right now. I'm playing ODST.
ODST was fun.
So that's also one thing I want to bring up. I didn't get that far in ODST, but um Halo 2, so like I was going back to Halo 1. Halo 1 I didn't like that much because I think I realized how spoiled I've been with a lot of modern games in checkpoints and mission markers. I think is the biggest one. Because there were a lot of instances in Halo 1 where I just got lost because there was nothing on any indicator to tell me, "Oh, this is the right way you need to go." Um and the issue with Halo 1 as well was that like you're in a lot of corridors that look kind of samey, and like I said, I just got lost, so I didn't know where to go. But I beat Halo 1 and I thought it was all right. But I didn't retain any of the like key factors from Halo 1.
Fair.
So I started Halo 2 because I'm like, all right, fuck it. I'll just play Halo 2. So what I knew about Halo 2 was that you can dual wield guns, which I'm like, okay, get to look forward to that. And then I start playing Halo 2 and I'm like, it's a little bit better than 1. I'm kind of enjoying it. But it's still one of those instances, like I said, that like you don't have a mission marker to tell you where to go. So like I said, there would be times where I'm just wandering around a huge corridor, figuring out like, all right, where do I go? So, but the story of Halo 2, I thought was like, oh, it's okay. But the reason why I put on Discord that like Halo's lore is pretty cool is because I didn't see that there were terminals. Or yes, there were terminals for both Halo 1 and 2. And I realized that I never checked out any of the terminals in Halo 1 or in Halo 2. So I just viewed it in like the main menu of the Master Chief Collection. So Halo 1 has a couple of terminals will kind of give you a little bit of a background of like specific things that like there were ancient races that essentially created these giant Halo rings for a sole purpose, and that basically the big bad is this parasite. And it's like, okay, that's cool. And then Halo 2 introduces this whole thing about the Covenant. You know who the Covenant are in Halo, right? I'm assuming, yes.
Yeah, the aliens, right?
Yes, the aliens. So they start to introduce this whole thing of this whole back and forth thing of the prophets from the government, the Covenant, talking about like how they basically conquered a bunch of races to join their covenant in order for their ideals on the Halo. And then it cuts to a heretic, basically the guy that you're after for the first mission as the Arbiter, and how he gets basically explained by the little robot from Halo 1, 343's Guilty Spark, that the little robot basically explains to him that, oh, your religion is basically a lie. And he's like, what do you mean? And then the robot goes into deep detail about like, yeah, like all that stuff that your leader thinks is like part of the religion isn't part of that. And he's like, oh. And then they start to talk about like other like supplemental things of like the Arbiter, for example, which I thought that was one of the coolest things of like, not cool in, well, the Arbiter is cool, but the whole idea behind it is really interesting as to like the Covenant uses the Arbiter as a warrior for the Covenant, but at the same time uses it as like a manipulation tool for other people to not question the Covenant, because the Arbiter originally was supposed to be a warrior, like a warrior of honor, but the Covenant took that idea, warped it in the sense that like the Arbiter is a sign of failure if you failed the Covenant, and is basically a symbol of redemption. But it also keeps all the rest of those aliens in line to ensure that if you fuck up, like you are basically put in a position of uh being exiled or being a failure. And it's just like this interesting thing of like, oh, these prophets have basically gaslighted all their followers. And it's such like an interesting like manipulation thing that I didn't really know about if I didn't check out these terminals. And it adds so much more to the world of like, basically these guys are just running around having their own holy war because of a misconception. And it's like, that's really interesting. Like I don't think I've ever heard of anything like that, where these false ideas that your antagonists are following is like is not true, but at the same time there's more, there's a whole sinister thing behind it as well, which is the inclusion of the flood, the parasite creatures, where which I have to give credit to Halo, that Halo is such a weird franchise because of the fact that I initially thought that the game was just shooting aliens with space guns, and then it just becomes a horror game like towards the end of the game, and it's like, what? Because you're fighting against flood zombies, and then more explanation as how the flood works is that essentially they are weird parasites that just use corpses. It's like Dead Space.
Yeah.
Like they're necromorphs. And then you get the big bad, which is the grave mind, and that thing is just like this creepy fucking like mound of corpses, and that talks and is also kind of godlike. It's so weird. And that's where I'm like, Halo has some really cool ideas. But so far what I've played of Halo, I would have to say 3 was like the biggest like what the fuck is happening, because of the fact of how modern it is, because it came out on the 360 obviously. Because the first thing that I was so surprised about was mission markers to let me know where to go. And that was the thing that I was like, Halo 3 is a fucking game changer. The only criticism I give Halo 3 is, well, there's 2 criticisms. No dual wielding needlers, bad idea. Halo 2 gave you the ability to dual wield needlers.
Uh-huh.
That was good.
Yeah,
Halo
which
3
one didn't let you do it? 3?
3.
Yeah.
Bad idea. Shouldn't have done that. Such a bad idea. Second criticism, the level where you have to go rescue Cortana is a little too drawn out. And I started to get really annoyed by it, because essentially you're fighting flood enemies. And sometimes these flood enemies, well, actually, now that I think about it, there's 3 things about Halo. Excuse me, that was a burp. There's 3 things now, but I'll get to that. The second thing, like I was saying, is that like you had to go save Cortana, but you're fighting against flood zombies. The problem is that there, in the level itself, there are like these pustules that if you shoot them, send out these the little they're not head crabs, but like the little flood thingies that infect the bodies of like corpses and stuff like that. That kept happening all the time, where I wasn't shooting these pustules, the enemy was, so they just bursted these things, and these things are all fucking running around, and if they can't find a body, they just come to me to attack me. And or they go to an enemy that I've just killed and reinfect them, and it just became this whole hassle of like me re-killing a lot of these things that I've just fucking shot and killed already. And then the third thing is, as much as a AAA game Halo is, the game is wonky as fuck. And let me explain why. Driving can get really wonky, because there's the whole thing of the physics that happens, where if you get flipped so many times, or you get flipped and you end up upside down, you exit the vehicle and you have to flip the fucking thing over again. So there was that. I ran into a funny checkpoint bug, as I was talking about checkpoints. I ran into a funny checkpoint bug during Halo 3 where I accidentally got out of a vehicle in air, and I was like, oh shit, all right. I guess I could just get back to the checkpoint. And the checkpoint was literally the point where I exited the vehicle. So it was just this whole thing of repeating me exiting the vehicle and dying, exiting the vehicle and dying. It just, it's a jank fucking thing. The other thing is AI for your companions, because you know how in Halo, like, you're able to drive the vehicle and you have like a companion with you that either like uses the turret or sits right next to you.
What is it?
Yes. Man, I guess you don't remember Halo. I guess you're not a true Halo fan.
No, I played Halo when like Xbox came out.
When the Xbox, yeah, basically you get a like a companion to ride with you, which are usually just soldier guys.
Oh, like random people, gotcha.
Yeah. Their AI is jank as fuck. I wanted to use the turret on the back of the Warhog so many times, so I just let an AI drive for a good bit. And this was in Halo 3. I just let him drive. So I'm like, okay, cool. I get to shoot the enemies. I have more accuracy with it. But this fucking AI, like, for some reason, would not. So there was like this chunk of like metal that was like just in the middle of the road. And the AI for my companion refused to drive over it or drive around it. Like, he was just stuck and he would not move. So I like got to a point where I was like, do I really actually have to take the wheel from the AI? And I had to. I just had to take the wheel from the AI because I'm like, all you had to do was just go over it. So there are moments where the AI just gets wonky. There was also another point where I was using a Hornet, which is one of those helicopter things that is in the game that you shoot with. I was using a Hornet and I landed it, and I had a companion with me. So I'm like, okay, I'm landing the thing. Gotta go do this one other little thing, and then I gotta come back to the Hornet and take it again to go do another thing. So I do the thing, and then I come back to where my Hornet was, and keyword, where it was, because the fucking AI took the Hornet. So I was like, what the fuck? My companion just took it, and I'm stuck on the ground. So I had to go find another vehicle in order for me to do the other thing that I had to go do, because I needed a vehicle with a weapon. So it like I said, the AI for the companions is really jank. It's really jank for a fucking AAA game.
Yeah.
But I think another thing about Halo is it is one of those games where I feel like the experience would be a lot better with a secondary player. Because I know a lot of people keep talking about how great Halo is if you have a buddy with you. I could imagine it is a much funner experience. And so far with my Halo experience, Keith David as the Arbiter was such a good idea. You know who Keith David is, right?
No.
Okay. Keith David is a well-known actor. He's been in a lot of movies. One specifically I can think about is The Thing with Kurt Russell. Keith David plays Childs. And yeah, Keith David is just good. He has a very good voice. The Arbiter is really cool. I like the fact in Halo 2 you can switch off from the Arbiter to, well, it's not on command, but it's like per story thing that's like, oh, play as Master Chief and then play as Arbiter, play as Master Chief. I thought that was pretty neat. A little sad that it doesn't come back in Halo 3. You're just playing as Master Chief throughout the entire way through, but I guess it kind of makes sense because Master Chief is your main character. And yeah, you got to protect your wife Cortana. That's basically the premise of Halo 3. Go get your wife, your computer wife, your blue computer wife. And yeah, I just started playing ODST. ODST is so interesting.
It looks way better too.
Yeah, it's weird. ODST is such a weird thing because of the fact that like it kind of goes back to the mechanics of Halo 1, where I completely forgot that Halo 1, you have a shield and a health bar.
Mhm.
And the shield recharges, but your health, you gotta have to go pick up health items. And with ODST, it's back to that system where you have a shield, but you have health and you need to go get health items. Um, but that's also the other thing that makes me realize is that, like, yeah, you're not playing a super soldier. You're not Master Chief in this. You're just army men. So you have to like have enough resources to get through this whole thing. ODST is such an interesting thing, and I keep hearing that the music is like jazzier. And there were some instances where I did hear the music, and I'm like, oh, this is such a huge change. Which that's also another thing I want to talk about. Halo's music is so bizarre in a good way because, like I was saying, is that you have that main theme of the operatic, oh, yeah, you got that for the
Yeah.
beginning of Halo, but then there were moments in like fucking Halo 2 where like butt rock starts happening, like a fucking guy shredding on a guitar, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening in Halo? And then you have those tense moments where you're in the dark with uh flood zombies, and like the music is like more eerie, and it's just like Halo's music is so interesting. It's just the whole thing I want to give off. But yeah, I keep hearing that ODST's music is like kind of nutso because it's more jazzy, and I think that was a thing that I also saw on like the wiki, was that like the music director was like trying to go for a different tone with its music, so that's kind of neat. Uh, so because of me getting into this Halo hype, for the first time in a long time, I went to a GameStop to pick up Halo 5 Guardians.
Oh,
Yeah. Excuse me.
and
I haven't played Halo 5 Guardians. It was just weird entering a GameStop again in such a long time. Uh Wild to see that there's a huge wall dedicated to Funko Pops, while like all the other walls are completely small and have games on them. It's weird.
yeah,
GameStop has come a long way. Not in the best way, but a long way. But yeah, the reason why I picked up Halo 5 Guardians was obviously because I'm getting into the Halo hype as of now. I hear that Halo 5 Guardians is also not that great, but I paid like $5 for it, so I was like, might as well. So I saw no bad part in that. But yeah, it's gonna be a while till I get to that, to Halo 5, because like I still gotta get through ODST, still gotta get through Reach and 4. Um and yeah, and then after I play 5, I'm very interested to play Infinite's campaign. I know the Infinite's multiplayer is not the best, because we've talked about Infinite's campaign as not campaign, Infinite's multiplayer, where there's been a lot of issues with like season updates and shit like that. So yeah, but you know, it's there. Yeah, Halo. Halo's pretty cool with its lore. Almost as cool as Diablo.
yeah, Diablo's cooler.
Yeah, Diablo's a little bit more cooler. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. Um, yeah, mostly Halo. Just Halo. I haven't watched any movies, so there's that.
You
But
didn't watch Jack Ryan?
I did not watch Jack Ryan.
Oh
There's
man, I thought we were gonna watch that together, bro. My bad.
Yeah, we should really watch Kamen Rider Black Suns. But we should well, not we should what was it? There was a movie that caught my interest on Netflix. It has Christian Bale in it.
Knives In.
No, not Knives In. No, it's like it has something to do with like Edgar Allan Poe, apparently. Let me-
With Christian Bale?
yeah, but I don't think Christian Bale is playing Edgar Allan Poe. Hold on, let me look up this movie.
No, I don't think he is either. But oh my god, I just jumped.
Uh,
Oof.
the movie's called The Pale Blue Eye. The premise is a gruff detective, Christian Bale, investigating a bizarre murder, forms an unlikely bond with eccentric West Point cadet Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar.
Edgar.
That's his first now. His first name.
Edgar Allan
I'm gonna
Poe.
look this shit up. No, no, I'm joking.
Oh, I was about to say,
Like his first. That's his first. I was just like, oh, I didn't know that. Haha.
I didn't know.
Bad joke, but it was a joke.
Was it a joke? I didn't
You're like,
laugh.
you shut the fuck up, dude.
I did not laugh. But yeah, that's the only movie that's
Blue Eyes.
the Pale Blue Eyes, right? Yeah.
Oh shit, that's Christian Bale. That's terrible.
As Batman. What are you talking about? He looks terrible. That's Christian Bale. Don't make him yell at you.
Maybe.
Yeah. That's where I've been basically. That's what I've been up to with my week. And then yeah, got my birthday tomorrow, so get to look forward to that.
Hope you have a good birthday, man.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, it's gonna.
Don't make it sound sad.
Well, it's gonna be raining tomorrow. I'm like, and I'm not really doing anything. So usually we're like cutting cake around like Sunday. So
I mean, is your mom gonna make you any like birthday din?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna force my mom to do it. I'm gonna be like, "Hey, woman,
I'm not
cook for me."
I'm just like, so like that's like I guess like our thing has always been like she's like, "What do you want for dinner?" And then she'll make like something and we hang out.
There's really nothing I can think of.
Sometimes see my brothers or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's really nothing I can think of that's like, oh man, gotta have this for my birthday din. Because like we had like beef stew for like the past 2 days, so at this point
It's
I
like
really
the third day is gonna be great. I can't wait for that third day.
Third day of beef stew. Yeah, there's. Excuse me, sorry, I had a hangnail. Yeah, there's really nothing that I can think of that like I kind of want to eat for dinner. Yeah, so that's basically it for me for my week.
Nice.
Yeah, that's nice. Playing all the Halo and all the Remnant. So
yeah, Remnant's better.
It's okay. It's all right.
I mean, maybe not story wise, but
I was so tempted to buy Chronos because like on a gray market site,
free somewhere.
Yeah, on a gray market site, it was like $4. But I kept seeing how like
it's not bad.
People were complaining about like the actual combat, and it's like it's not good. And I'm like, don't know, probably not. So that's why I just watched that lore video. Oh, that reminds me. Speaking of videos, I've gotten into like a couple like videos beforehand. I've been watching this YouTube channel called G-Man Lives, and he just does like video reviews and essays on like specific games that he likes. So I've been like doing like kind of deep dives into his videos and stuff like that, just to like see if like what games he's interested in. I also saw the CoffeeZilla versus Logan Paul thing. Did you watch this?
The one about him making
CryptoZoo?
The scheme?
Yeah.
Yeah, watch it.
So I watched the 3-part series from CoffeeZilla. Why does anybody trust the Paul brothers? Why?
Why does anybody trust any crypto shit, bro? Like, don't get me wrong, if you think you can invest to make money, do it. But like the people that put money, like a lot of money into that, and then we're like, it doesn't let me do it. The first time I put a fucking, and I know it was more than $1 you have to put in to make something, right? But the first egg that wouldn't open for me, that's enough for me. I now know that your program doesn't work. I now know, and once I write to your, which is probably directly to them more than anything, or whoever gets the fucking email, when you try to write to their, why am I blanking? Their like ticketing team who's supposed to take care of all the issues. and they don't respond, or they gave me a generic response like, "Oh, we're working on it," or it doesn't, whatever. And
Mm.
then when I notice in a month that I still can't open that, I'm not putting more money into your shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not happening.
So yeah, like that whole 3-part series with CoffeeZilla, like explaining all this shit. It's just mind blowing. Like, and that's the thing is that like
Um,
I he talks to people that invested into this and the people that lost money, but it's like at the same time it's just like, why would you trust a fucking influencer like that? Like, I just don't get it. And yeah, and that's also the problem is that like he's had a history of like pumping and dumping and going his own way, and it's just like I don't get it. It's like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me thrice, still shame on me. It's like, come on, man. It's like, learn. I don't know. I think it's just from my perspective
I
that like
agree.
I'm just more cynical when it comes to things like that. But
No, no, nobody should trust these motherfuckers.
no, because like then I saw CoffeeZilla's video on Save the Kids.
I don't know that.
So basically it was another crypto scam run by uh what is his name? FaZe K and FaZe Jarvis, like these FaZe brothers.
Yeah.
And I think like Rice Gum was also in there. But it was a huge pump and dump as well, and it became this whole thing where uh FaZe K kept talking about how like, oh, he didn't know it was a pump and dump, like he was trying to like do it for charity, and then CoffeeZilla was like going through like his wallet history and was like, you sure about that? Because like it doesn't add up to this and this and this. Like it's just like none, like all of it was just a fucking scam. And that was like the end result of it. And funny enough, I saw another video talking about like like why Jake basically the video is called like Jake Paul is much worse than Logan Paul when it comes to crypto. And then it's a whole video explaining about Jake Paul's crypto schemes as well and how he got rich off of scams as well. And it's just like, who keeps trusting these people? Who? Why? So yeah, there was that. But the biggest one that I forgot to mention, and this has been like weeks that I forgot to mention, is Hbomberguy's Roblox oof video. I highly, highly recommend you watch this video. So if you don't know who Hbomberguy is, he does like deep dives and video essays on like video game related stuff. He's done like his own video essay on like um on Deus Ex, Fallout 3. Like he just talks in depth about a lot of things. He really got me into Pathologic. Because it seemed like such an interesting game, but the original Pathologic is kind of hard to get into, so I didn't really get too into it. Uh but like I said, he goes into like extensive detail about like the topics that he talks at hand. So the Roblox oof video is one of these fucking rabbit hole videos that talks about Tommy Tellerico.
Who?
So Tommy Tellerico is currently the head at Intellivision.
Okay.
So did you hear about this whole thing that Intellivision was trying to make a comeback by creating a console called the Amico?
I don't know this.
So there was a whole thing that happened with this console called the Amico from Intellivision that it was supposed to ship at the start of 2020, but production kind of went silent because obviously from COVID, because it was a console marketed on like togetherness, but the problem was that the pandemic was happening. But then it went into like this whole crazy like thing where like it just couldn't keep up its license. Like it's bizarre. But Tommy Tellerico is so infamous because he was a big part of Intellivision and a bunch of other like video game companies. But the Hbomberguy video goes into such detail about Tommy Tellerico, about the amount of lies that he has said throughout his career. It is amazing. I highly recommend you watch it. I highly, highly recommend you watch it. Because it's just like, if you knew nothing about Tommy Tallarico, watching the video, you're going to be like, oh, now I know everything about Tommy Tallarico. It's great. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Tommy Tallarico. The one thing that I have been watching, actually, now that I think about it, I haven't gotten through it yet, but I've been watching this Korean show called The Stranger. I've still in episode 1 because I think each episode is like half an hour plus. But basically the first episode it's a whole mystery about this attorney trying to figure out this death of an acquaintance he had that had like really important information that would basically reveal a bunch of like corrupt shit in like the Korean government. So that was basically the premise of the show.
The North Koreans or the South Koreans?
The South.
Corruption in the South? No.
Yeah, corruption in the South Koreas. It was pretty good from the amount of I watched. I still gotta continue watching it, but I'll probably give an update to that. And yeah, that's it. That's it for Chonch. That's it. I'll stop talking about myself. With that said, do you need to take a break or anything?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Got a little bit of water left. All right, so want to speed through these news shit? Speed.
So slow though.
It's all right, man. I'm slow as well. So what can we talk about? What can we talk about here? So there's two things. There's a couple things I want to mention, like probably towards the end, but like I'll get there. So the first two things, Microsoft. What you know about that Microsoft? Since I was talking about all that Halo. You love the Microsoft?
Microsoft? We're talking about the FTC or no?
Yeah, let's talk about the bad for Microsoft. So basically there was a thing that I don't know, I don't think I mentioned last week or the week before, that Microsoft made a statement saying that the FTC's whole claim against them was unconstitutional. So there's a report coming out saying that Microsoft has retracted their statement of the FTC being unconstitutional. Basically this is a whole workaround of the whole thing that we've been talking about, that fucking Call of Duty is the biggest game of all time that has caused this huge problem for the FTC to halt the merger. And basically Microsoft came out with a statement saying that they're infringing on their Fifth Amendment right, and that they are making false statements saying that they're anti-competitive and all this. And like I said, Microsoft has retracted their statements because it doesn't look good for them in court that they're making these statements saying that their rights are being infringed upon. Yeah, it's just this dumb thing overall.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of this, they're just saying, like, again, like,
please give us merger.
There's numerous claims of unfair practices. And then they go right back to pointing at Call of Duty. And it's like,
let me merge, please. Merge.
Personally, I really don't give a fuck. I don't see why they can't just merge, you know? And like, this may come off like weird or not agreeing with a lot of people, but like, I'm sure it would be a bad thing for all games to be under one roof, but like, who the fuck cares? Like, all your games at this point that are coming out are pretty much the same fucking thing every year.
Yeah, and like I'm saying is that like I've already given my thought about this, is that like video games are becoming to the point of movies where everything's becoming creatively bankrupt, that they just have to like rely on these long running series that like
we were talking about like creative bankruptcy last time
for
about how
fucking
bad it is, you
yeah,
know?
and that's what's happening with video games. That like this sole fucking series is the hindrance of a merger that, like, we don't know whether or not it's going to be a good thing. We don't know if it's going to be a bad thing. But overall, it's just like it's wild to think that one series out of every other series in existence for video games is the reason why all of this is happening. It's wild the amount of power that Call of Duty has. But like I said, we've already talked about this. So but yeah, Microsoft not happy, but please do not sue or do not take away our merger. But aside from that, the good news at Microsoft is that game testers have been the first to be approved for a union. So, testers over at
I did see this, yeah.
ZeniMax have been signed off for Communication Workers of America. And hopefully this is a good step for a lot of video game companies to become unionized.
Yeah. It's interesting that testers got approved for that.
Yeah, and this is going to lead into a whole thing of like other departments being like, yo, when are we getting a union? So
yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know if it would be more beneficial. I guess ultimately it's always more beneficial for the worker themselves, of course.
I feel like it would be way more beneficial because we keep talking. There's the whole stories of like each studio having their crunch time and like their crunch hours, and then you get the horror stories from a lot of previous either QA testers or developers talking about how like
yeah, but they have a union. What, they just get more overtime for having to work more hours? Yeah,
not
or
necessarily.
is it cutting hours so they're not working that long? Because I mean, like,
I think it's more in the sense that their job is not jeopardized because of the fact that they have no union. Because
right,
that's been always the issue for big corporations, especially big video game corporations, that just view a lot of either testers or some staffers to be disposable. That it's like, you know, you'll go find another job somewhere, but not here. Like, go away. And that's where you like I said, you get those horror stories where a lot of people talk about their time in an office and they're being worked overtime, and they essentially have no choice but to work that overtime. And it's like, if only they were in a union. And and that's the thing, is that like there are some companies that have a union. I think DICE has a union, but they're located where, in Switzerland or Norway? I don't remember.
Which one?
DICE.
Oh,
They
I thought
have.
they were French.
Are they French? Hold on. DICE Studios. I'm about to look this up. DICE. Swedish. Yeah, they're located in Sweden.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they technically have a union, or they have some kind of labor laws that allow them to not work a crazy amount of time. But that's the big issue that's going on here in American companies or companies in other parts of Europe, where they're being worked overtime to the extent of them just being tired as fuck, and that's it. Yeah, like I said, this is a good direction for video game companies to go into, to have a union for their workers. So, in the long run, here's hoping. Here's hoping we don't get stories where fucking directors for video games coming out being like, "Yeah, we did crunch. Everybody loved it." And everybody who was on the team was like, "We didn't love it."
So the only thing I'm thinking about that could be bad for union, again, this wouldn't be a bad thing from the point of view of the worker, but or whatever, the coder, whoever is working the game, right? But if they did have union for all the workers, you know, are they fireable then? Are they always gonna have their job? because there's a lot of layoffs that happen, and I don't know why they lay people off, whether or not they can pay them or whatever. But like, if they can't pay somebody and they're union, what happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, each union has their own specific rules and their contracts and stuff like that. You know, as someone that used to work in a position, and you used to work in a position with a union, it's like there are certain contracts that are written up per position. So it's like it's just dependent on their understanding or like what they have for their union, and that's for them to, you know, read between the lines to see what can and can't be used against them. So,
Right.
you know, it's just something that they have to put in the work for. That's it. But you know, like I said, it is an achievement for a place that, well, for a career that is notoriously known for just letting people go for no reason. And you know, you also get the job security of studios not shutting down, because that was also another issue, is that a lot of studios shut down because of their parent company being like, yeah, we don't need you anymore. And a lot of those people are just out of the job. So, you know, I view that in a good light. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
um.
And then you get also stories of like companies screwing over other companies and screwing over employees because there are certain things that in their contract fuck them over. So I feel like with unions, they can take contracts with other companies and try to figure out like what works with them. Because the most infamous story they could think about where a studio tried to really fuck over another studio was ZeniMax with Obsidian Games when Fallout New Vegas was happening, where they tried to cut their pay for reviews. Did you know about this? I think we talked about this.
With Obsidian?
Yes. When Obsidian was creating Fallout New Vegas, ZeniMax promised to give them a bonus if the game got a Metascore of I forget what. But they had to get a specific score that ZeniMax was like, yeah, we promise you to give you a bonus. But the problem started to happen when ZeniMax started rushing them. So that's why Fallout New Vegas is known to be kind of broken, but still a pretty good Fallout game for its writing. And because of the game being broken at launch, it didn't get the score that they were going to get their bonus for. So ZeniMax basically screwed them over for that. It created a false promise for them. It was a crazy story. That's why now Obsidian is just like kind of interesting to see somewhat flourish. And it's also crazy to see that now they are under the same roof with ZeniMax, because ZeniMax is owned by Microsoft and Obsidian is owned by Microsoft. So
Right.
it's just this weird culmination of just like, here we are now. Look at us now. Yeah. So that is one of the stories that I know like is the most infamous story of a big studio trying to fuck over I want to say a smaller studio, but trying to fuck over another studio. So, yeah. Unions. Get you a union. Speaking of unions, well, this is not really a union thing. Speaking about going fast, I don't know if we talked about anything about going fast. Gran Turismo, the movie, has a sneak preview of what this movie is. So basically, it's a dramatization version of a real life person about a guy named Jan Mardenborough, who won a Gran Turismo contest and became a driver. I think we talked about the premise beforehand. But the people who are there with him are Orlando Bloom and David Arbor. But yeah, basically this whole movie is a dramatization of that whole thing, and I watched a little bit of the preview, and uh the actor that's playing the main character talks about how this is a movie about racing and drama and love, and I'm like, wait, this is a movie based off a guy who was obsessed with Gran Turismo to the extent where he got into it competitive wise and he had enough time for a love life. I'm like, that's a lie. That's cap. That's full cap. There's no way there's no way a nerd that loves Gran Turismo has a girlfriend. Come on. Get out of here with that lie. But overall, the cinematography for the movie through the sneak preview like is pretty good. Like you're looking at the cars go fast, but it's still done in a very impressive way. So yeah, Gran Turismo the movie. Moving on from Gran Turismo the movie, big stuff is going on. So Suda 51, baby, Goichi Suda.
I do love Suda.
Suda. I love the Suda.
Super 50.
So I completely forgot that Famitsu does an aspiration column during the start of the year, like every new year. They talk with with different Japanese developers talking about what their future plans are and like specific things that they're looking forward to and stuff like that. Goichi Suda. I read that one of the guys, I don't know if it was Suda. No, I think it was somebody else. But somebody was talking about was it Suda? Hold on. I actually want to see if it was Suda. But yeah, they talk about like what are you excited for this year in 2023? And somebody said the new Kamen Rider movie, and I was like, yeah, let's fucking go. Oh, he's excited for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That's what he's excited for. But basically for Suda 51 for his studio, he's planning on a new game, which is obvious. And he's also planning on starting a new studio. Well, he already has a new studio called Yaburiki. No, excuse me, not Yaburiki. Excuse me, Yabukiri Studio, which is a studio that he opened up with NetEase, which I didn't know about. But apparently, the studio is aiming towards a younger audience. Don't know what the fuck that means, but I'm assuming for the kids. But only questions as to like what the studio is going to produce is, I think, the bigger questions. But you know, he's a game creator, so who knows? So yeah, Suda 51 is developing a new game over at Grasshopper. I also forgot that a remake for Lollipop Chainsaw is happening, but Suda 51 and James Gunn are not involved, and I completely forgot about that. Which is kind of sad, but oh well. So yeah, Grasshopper making more games. A lot of people are hoping that it's going to be a remake of a DS game called Flower, Sun, and Rain, which apparently he did promise was a thing that was in the works. So don't know if that's happening, because apparently Flower, Sun, and Rain is kind of based in the same world as the Silver Case. If you remember me playing that, the Silver Case was a visual novel.
Yes.
So Flower, Sun, and Rain is kind of in the same world as that. And a lot of people, it's one of those cult hits as well. That a lot of people enjoy. So yeah, good luck to Suda. Good luck to him seeing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And you know, we talk about the new year. We talk about, you know, the good stuff that the new year can bring and what changes people can make to themselves. That does not apply to fucking Square Enix, because they're at it even stronger with their NFT plans. Basically the what is it? The CEO? No, the president of Square Enix came out in a statement again towards the beginning of this year, stating that they're going in stronger with Web3, blockchain, and NFTs. Uh, does not make me excited for anything that they have planned NFT wise or crypto wise, but they really, for some reason, want to go into this market, even though fucking, what was it, towards the end of 2022 was when the crash of crypto started happening. So, and then we just talked about the fucking scams and shit.
I just want to point out, there's a part in here where it says, they're focusing on like it's the old people that people. Sorry. People don't hate NFTs in games. They just don't understand them. That's what they were saying. Sorry.
Yes,
I
yes.
misspoke on the old people part. People don't understand them, and they were saying how that's a philosophy that Ubisoft used before when their games were rejected
Mhm.
into the Web3 kind of like stuff too.
Yeah, where a lot of people
And
were
it's
giving a
just
lot
like
backlash to that. Yeah,
if Ubisoft is saying something and you're copying essentially what Ubisoft said, maybe don't do that one.
I mean,
Ubisoft is trash, bro.
it's wild to think that like so many game studios were like really trying to hit the whole fucking crypto shit. Because I remember the whole thing with the studio behind Stalker 2, where they were trying to talk about how like they're planning on doing like crypto NFT related stuff with Stalker 2, and people were like, "Don't do that, or now we're canceling our fucking pre-orders." And they're like, "Okay, we take it back. We're not doing that anymore." And they're like, "Yeah, motherfuckers, you better not." And then bigger studios like obviously Ubisoft and EA, which I forgot EA had their own weird crypto shit. Yeah, they're just trying to go for this market that I don't know who it's appealing to. And it's wild to think that like Square Enix, the biggest company that I'm pretty sure a lot of people have played the majority of their games and have really fond memories, specifically for anybody who's played Final Fantasy, is really pushing for this market because they know they can do this because of the amount of nostalgia that they can pull from it because people have good memories with Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I keep forgetting is that they released a figure line of Final Fantasy 7 characters where they have NFT scan codes. And it was this crazy thing where I was like, I remember I saw this too. I was like, "Oh cool." Like PS1 rendered Cloud figure. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And then I remembered that the whole thing behind this thing as to why people didn't buy it was because it has that fucking NFT token on it. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right." Like that's why nobody bought this thing. It's
Yeah.
it's stupid. It really is. And then we had that whole thing with what was it? Symbiogenesis, where everybody thought that that was a Parasite Eve project, but apparently it wasn't like a crypto NFT thing that Square Enix is planning. I don't.
No. I don't
Yeah.
remember.
So there was a thing that was talked about that's called Symbiogenesis, where a lot of speculation was that it was going to be like a Parasite Eve sequel, but it just turned out to be a NFT thing that Square Enix is pushing. And yeah, it's
Phoenix.
just wild to see that like Square Enix is doing this. Konami is a big player as well with trying to do NFT crypto shit because what was it? The beginning of 2022, Konami just came back and was like, "Hey, we're doing Castlevania NFTs." Everybody was like, "What?" And then yeah, they came out with Castlevania NFTs. 2022 has not been a good year. Not been a good year. So yeah, President of Square Enix is very keen on pushing this stuff, so I guess good luck to him. But speaking of good luck, you know who's had good luck? CD Projekt Red. Cause cause now, well, I don't know if this is necessarily good. Well, good luck and bad luck, I guess I would say for them. Good luck is that Cyberpunk is at its peak of curiosity for a lot of people, and like has made a basically a comeback within like the whole video game market. The bad part for CD Projekt Red is that basically they had to settle a lawsuit for false advertising with their shareholders for 1.85 million. So yeah. Apparently the file was complete in December of 2022. So this was a couple months after Cyberpunk was released. And like now is when the settlement is coming in. But like I said, CD Projekt Red has created an interest for people because of the new gen console versions of CD Projekt, of Cyberpunk, and also Edge Runners being a big hit. So yeah. You gonna play Cyberpunk or nah?
DLC?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. Well,
I played that game once and I'm good, I think.
Okay. I mean, I bought that game twice because I bought it for my PC to see how good it runs, and I'm probably gonna play the DLC. I'm a terrible person. I'm part of the problem. But yeah, CD Projekt Red paying that lawsuit. Speaking of ultra sadness, bro, did you know that they cancel shows on Netflix?
I saw this and I knew you were gonna be upset, dude.
I am so fucking upset. I'm so pissed. When I saw this, I was genuinely like, why the fuck does Netflix do this? And I don't know if you saw my tweet.
I don't have a really good answer. Yeah, I did. I saw you tweet.
Okay, yeah. So how come?
Very angry.
Yeah, they canceled this, but they approved fucking season 17 of Stranger Things and Hubie Halloween 2.
Dude, please Hubie Halloween 2. Please.
Exactly. See, exactly.
Fuck this show. Bring us Hubie Halloween 2. Stranger Things this is their last season, bro.
No, stop lying. They're gonna renew it for another season and be like, oh,
fucking wish.
Fucking 11 is fucking 80 years old and she's married to Drake, and it's like,
Stop.
But just on this topic of what Netflix is doing, Netflix has canceled 1899 after one season. What the fuck? Basically it was revealed by the co-creator on his Instagram, basically saying that they haven't been renewed for a second and third season. And they were hoping to do more of 1899, and Netflix was like, nah. And it sucks because fucking season 1 ends in a fucking cliffhanger. But it's also wild that the fact that like Dark was, I don't know if Dark was successful, but Dark, I mean, obviously the reason why this show got greenlit was because of the fact that Dark was pretty good. So
right.
But yeah, now we got the whole thing where you get season 1 of 1899 and that's it. Don't ask questions. I'm fucking pissed, bro. Fucking pissed. Yeah. Big sadness. Big sadness for Chonch. I guess on the bright side, on Sony's side, Sony has tweeted some stuff. They introduced their Project Leonardo, which is a customizable accessibility controller for people with disabilities, and it's neat. Looks cool.
Yeah.
Also, they mentioned in that same tweet that the PSVR 2 is gonna have 30 games on launch. It's gonna have Gran Turismo 7 VR for free at launch. Beat Saber is also in development for it, and yeah, that's basically it.
I'm very excited that they're working on Beat Saber.
Beat Saber for PSVR 2.
Yep.
I'm just curious whether or not Alex is going to arrive on VR2, if that's ever going to be a thing, because that thing is just stuck on PC. Half-Life Alex?
Yeah.
Because every time I see gameplay of that thing, I'm just so blown away at what you can do in that. Like, you just pick up a rat. Like, I thought that was like, what? That game is wild. But yeah. PlayStation doing some shit. And then just two minor things of note that has happened throughout this past week, as well. Microsoft is also they're having a showcase, I believe, on the 25th of this month. Hold on, let me try to see if I got that right. Yes, the 25th, they're having Developer Direct, and then they're having, I think, an additional day for Bethesda to talk about Starfield. I was about to say Star Citizen, and I'm like, that's not the right thing. But yeah, Developer Direct, they're gonna be talking with other studios that are owned by Microsoft. So Mojang will be there. Get excited for that Minecraft. And the other thing I wanted to mention was big backlash has happened for Wizards of the Coast, the Dungeons and Dragons people, that basically new terms of services for their OpenGL has come out, stating that they want a percentage cut for any content Dungeons and Dragons related. And this is mostly people believing that it's Hasbro's doing, because I didn't know that apparently Hasbro owns the rights to Dungeons and Dragons. So that's wild. Hasbro is, I believe, the parent company of Wizards of the Coast. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like I was saying, is that like a whole thing came out stating that basically they just want a percentage cut on anything Dungeons and Dragons related, because of the fact of how popular it's gotten to this point. I think the biggest thing that people point to of like what has kind of brought back Dungeons and Dragons is Critical Role. Critical Role is like the biggest thing. But yeah, good luck to them, I guess, because that shit's not gonna fly with a lot of other people, a lot of other companies, because there was also a thing that I was seeing that a bunch of like video games that were planned on being like Dungeons and Dragons related have gotten canceled, except Baldur's Gate. Because
they're not gonna get rid of that. No way.
They can't cancel Baldur's Gate because I think there's some law behind Baldur's Gate that kind of protects it from that whole ordeal. But yeah, Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro is like trying to strong arm themselves into other people's like businesses and ideas for tabletop shit that kind of has a connection to Dungeons and Dragons. So don't know where this mess is gonna go. So yeah, with that said, that is it for the podcast. We did it. We made it through.
An entire podcast?
Entire podcast. We did it.
Truthfully.
Right. Truthfully and diligently.
Don't ever buy NFTs.
Don't buy NFTs. Don't trust influencers with NFTs. And yeah, just stay away from NFTs. All right, bye.